They return to the same field where his last spell turned the ground into ash. The burn marks are still there, a wide scar cut into the earth. Finn stares at it quietly, finally understanding what people mean when they say large-scale magic. Noelia watches his expression and tells him his power is unstable. His perception of magic is still off. Finn admits it. He's only ever lived by the sword. Magic, to him, has always felt like something far removed, something beyond reach. She says that's the problem. He overestimates it. Most people don't even have enough in them to activate a spell. The only reason his magic works is because of how much he has. And when it doesn't, it's because the image in his head isn't clear enough. So that's why it fails. Finn nods slowly, then asks if it'll stabilize once he understands it better. Noelia says it will. That's why she's here. She sets her wand down, steps forward, and takes his hands in hers. Finn blinks, caught off guard. It's the same position as before. He asks if this is another magic synchronization, and if she's going to faint again. She blushes, embarrassed, and says that only happened because she drew too much magic from him on her own. This time, it's just overlapping consciousness. Finn catches the shift in her tone but stays quiet. She tells him to chant the spell again. He does. Become a hot, burning arrow and penetrate my enemy. Then a voice answers inside his head. Noelia. She says the effect looks fine, but the size is too big again. He hears her clearly, not with his ears, but straight through his thoughts. She tells him she's inside his consciousness now, watching the magic he's forming in real time. Finn stands there, stunned. This is the first time magic has ever made sense. Noelia tells him to shrink the image more. Finn imagines a huge pool of flames and asks if that's small enough. Still holding his hands, Noelia sighs. Still too big. Just as she suspected, he imagines magic in extremes. She says she'll keep watching until he gets it right. All he has to do is focus and adjust. Finn narrows his concentration. The blazing image in his mind starts to shrink, bit by bit. Noelia quietly guides him as he fine-tunes the size. After a moment, she finally nods. This is it. The exact size needed to activate a proper fire arrow. Finn locks the image in his mind. Noelia lets go of his hands and steps back, telling him to try it now. He recites the chant one more time, and this time, a perfectly formed fire arrow shoots out with a clean burst of heat and speed. Finn lights up. Without thinking, he throws his arms around her and shouts that it worked. He asks if that was it, if that was really the proper fire arrow. Flushed red, Noelia nods, stumbling over her words. As his instructor, she's thrilled, but she awkwardly mutters that if he doesn't mind, maybe it's time to let her go now. Though, if he insists, she's fine with staying like this a bit longer. Realizing what he's doing, Finn instantly lets go, flustered. He remembers she's a noble's daughter and scolds himself for grabbing her without thinking. He apologizes in a rush, but Noelia waves it off. She says she gets it. Finally controlling magic feels incredible. Then she hands him her wand. She tells him to try using it now. It's embedded with a magic stone that lowers the energy cost. Normally, magic is cast through wands like this. He asks if that's how it's usually done. He wonders aloud why he didn't need one earlier. Before she can answer, a giant ant monster bursts out from behind. Noelia reacts instantly. She spins and casts Fire Lance, hitting it dead on and turning it to ash. She tells him it only worked without a wand because he's a total anomaly. She can cast up to intermediate spells without one. But what he's doing isn't normal at all. More giant ants crawl out of the ground, swarming toward them. Noelia glances around and tells Finn it's a good time to test how well the wand works in actual combat. Finn nods, thinking back to the fire arrow he launched earlier. It probably aggravated a nest nearby. Noelia comments that there seem to be a lot of them, but it'll make for decent practice. Finn quickly estimates their numbers. Maybe 50 or 60. He raises the wand, focuses, and starts firing. One by one, fire arrows shoot out with sharp precision, each one striking a giant ant dead on. The spells land perfectly, cleanly burning through the enemy line. Excited, Finn shouts that magic really is amazing. But Noelia snaps at him. It's not the time to get distracted. Finn quickly agrees and keeps up the barrage. But in the middle of casting, he realizes picking them off one by one is too inefficient. There's just too many. He remembers what Noelia said about magic relying on imagination. So instead of single shots, he pictures a full spread, multiple arrows fired at once. He tweaks the chant on the fly, shaping the magic to fit the rhythm of the battle. Noelia catches the change and freezes. That isn't fire arrow anymore. She asks what he's doing. Finn tells her he's adjusting the spell to match what the fight needs, and if it backfires, he's counting on her to cover him. Noelia stares at him like he's insane, but before she can protest, he casts it. A swarm of flaming projectiles flies out in a sweeping arc. His new spell, Fire Arrow Barrage. The ants are wiped out in seconds, collapsing in smoking heaps across the field. Noelia stands speechless, watching the monsters fall without a fight. She mutters in disbelief. Those giant ants went down like nothing. Finn laughs, still fired up, and tells Noelia he just came up with that on the spot. He says she was right after all. Magic really is powered by imagination. But Noelia frowns and shoots him a glare. That's not what she meant. Confused, Finn asks if he did something wrong. Noelia sighs, then softens. It's not wrong, she says. In fact, it was incredible. She just didn't expect him to twist her words into something that wild. Watching those fire arrows split and curve through the air, each moving like it had a mind of its own, it was mesmerizing. She tells him it's more than just impressive. It's new. They'll need to report it to the Magic Research Institute. That spell didn't exist before today. Finn watches the scorched clearing and thinks again about how far beyond the sword this power goes. Alphine would never accept it. She's always seen magic as blasphemy. But maybe that makes Magic Swordsman the perfect cover. A new identity, both true and hidden. He turns to Noelia, suddenly serious. From now on, he says he'll go by that title, Magic Swordsman. And if that's who he is, then there's only one person he wants as his guide. He holds out his hand and asks her if the infinite mage Noelia can continue teaching him. Noelia pauses, startled. Then she reaches forward and takes his hand, cheeks slightly flushed. If he's fine with her clumsy teaching, then she'll gladly help for years to come, if he'll have her. Finn smirks and jokes that it sounds kind of like a marriage proposal. Noelia stammers, caught off guard, and Finn laughs, telling her he's counting on her. That night, Noelia returns home. Her maid greets her at the door, but Noelia walks right past without a word. Once in her room, she closes the door behind her and quietly pulls out the cloak Finn gave her during the monster attack. She clutches it close, her mind replaying every moment from the forest. The next morning, out in the woods near Huguenot, Noelia stands in front of Finn, back to instructor mode. Today, she says, they'll cover the fundamental types of magic. Finn lights up, eager to start. He asks her to explain. She nods and begins. There are 3 primary types: attack magic to damage enemies, enhancement magic to boost your own strength, and healing magic to restore wounds. Noelia explains that there are many branches of magic, but the main 3 are attack, support, and healing. Finn nods, taking it in. He asks if the spell they used before was considered attack magic. Noelia confirms. It's a simple spell that turns raw magic power into destructive force. But she warns him, any larger-scale version demands precise control. With his magic reserves, even a minor misstep could turn catastrophic. Next, she moves to support magic. She points to a spell in his book, the same one she used to clean off the acid. Finn lights up, asking if that's the one that wiped away the burn in an instant. Noelia confirms. It's a clean spell, one that alters the properties of matter. But it requires detailed knowledge of the target material. That's why she recommends familiarizing himself with all kinds of toxins and poisons. Finn says he wants to learn it someday. Noelia tells him she's sure he'll pick it up quickly. Finally, she moves on to healing magic. She pulls a small knife, nicks her finger, and casts a quick chant. The cut vanishes almost instantly, closed by a soft glow of magic. Noelia explains that healing magic works by accelerating the body's natural recovery process. But before she can finish, Finn grabs her hand. He scolds her, calling her reckless. Even if it's for demonstration, a girl shouldn't be hurting herself like that. Noelia nods, a little startled. Finn softens his grip and apologizes. Still, he frowns, clearly bothered. He hopes it doesn't leave a scar. Watching him, Noelia can't help but think how dependable he is, kind and strong in a way that feels real. But she quickly reins herself in. She made a promise to Susanna. She can't let herself get carried away. That memory flashes back. The night she held Finn's cloak in her arms, Susanna had barged into the room to help her change. Startled, Noelia scolded her for entering without knocking. Susanna explained that she had knocked, but Noelia didn't respond. She teased that her master had been restless ever since meeting that man again. Flustered, Noelia dropped the cloak and insisted it was all professional. He's her disciple. Of course they'd have magic lessons. But Susanna wasn't convinced. She warned Noelia that others wouldn't see it the same way. A noble's daughter spending time alone with a male commoner, even as a teacher, was bound to draw unwanted attention. Noelia quickly denies it, flustered. There's nothing like that between them. She's sure Finn doesn't see her that way. But Susanna just gives a smug smile. As expected, she says Noelia's fallen for him. Noelia snaps back, insisting she's wrong. But Susanna, now confident, declares she'll handle everything from here. She promises to lay the perfect groundwork. Then she turns and walks off, ignoring Noelia's protests. Left alone, Noelia grumbles under her breath. But just as she's about to shake it off, Finn's face appears in front of her. He asks if she's okay. She was just staring into space. Noelia jumps a little, then quickly composes herself. She says she's fine and suggests they wrap up the theory for now and test things out in practice. She asks what kind of magic he wants to try. Finn thinks it over, then says he wants to try enchanting his sword and using it in combat. Noelia immediately shoots the idea down. That kind of magic's extremely difficult. For now, she tells him to just observe. She picks up a pebble and casts a fire enchantment. The stone flickers with flame for a moment, then dims out and goes cold. She explains that even if you cast fire on a rock, it won't stay lit. Magic power disperses too easily. It's especially unstable with inorganic matter. Noelia adds that there are techniques to enchant objects, but they require special processes and ceremonies. It's not something that can be done in the middle of combat. Finn sighs, saying it makes sense. If anyone could do it easily, everyone would. But then Noelia mentions that if they ask her master, Linus, they might get a different answer. That catches Finn's interest immediately. He asks where this master is now. Noelia tells him Linus currently serves as the head of the magic research department in the royal capital. The moment he hears that, Finn's mood drops. He stiffens, thinking about Alphine. The capital's the last place he wants to be near. Noelia notices the change and asks if something's wrong. Finn quickly brushes it off, saying it's nothing. Then he shifts the topic, saying she's right, he should just focus on mastering basic attack magic for now. Noelia nods without pressing him further. Finn silently decides to keep his distance from the capital, at least for the time being. Meanwhile, in the capital, Alphine paces inside her residence. It's been 2 weeks, and there's still no trace of Finn. Biting her nails in frustration, she mutters to herself. She did hear a report. Someone matching his description was seen at the coach station heading to the frontier region. But she still can't believe he'd really leave her like that. Finn can't possibly survive out there without her support or connections. She remembers what others said, that he'll come crawling back after cooling his head, that she should have just been a little nicer to him. Grinding her teeth, she slashes a pillow open in frustration. Her eyes fall on the sword he left behind. She stares at it bitterly, thinking about the expensive equipment she gave him, the money, everything. Yet he still walked away like none of it mattered. Tears start to well up. Maybe leaving the sword behind really was his way of saying goodbye. Those swords were supposed to be proof of their promise, to survive together, to succeed as adventurers, to never part ways. She collapses to the floor, sobbing. Even after all they shared, he still disappeared from her life. A part of her starts to wonder if something deeper pushed him away. From outside, her butler Vigo calls out, reminding her she's scheduled to give a swordsmanship lecture at the palace. Alphine wipes her eyes, then tells him she'll be ready soon and orders him to prepare the carriage. Her eyes narrow as one particular face crosses her mind, someone she hopes she doesn't see at the palace. Later that day, at Hertford Royal Castle, Alphine knocks a knight backward with a single strike. His sword clatters across the training yard. He gasps, winded, and mutters that he didn't think a woman's attack could hit that hard. Alphine steps forward, calm and unfazed, and tells him he's trained well. Not many can last 10 rounds with her. The knight smiles politely, calling it generous of the sword saint to say that. But Alphine's expression tightens. She could have ended the match in a single strike. These pampered nobles just want to show off, not fight for real. Not a shred of grit in them. If it were Finn, he'd be clinging on through 100 rounds, puking and sobbing but still swinging. Suddenly, clapping echoes through the training ground. Jair, captain of the Royal Knights, steps in with a smug grin. He praises Alphine as the king's chosen sword saint and says it's an honor just to witness her technique. Alphine snaps back that flattery won't get him anywhere, but Jair cuts her off with a raised hand. He declares that today, she'll finally join them. With her talent, he says, mimicking her swordplay should be easy. Then he adds something that freezes her in place. He's heard her beloved Finn has abandoned her and run off from the capital. Alphine's eyes flash. In one motion, she draws her sword and presses the tip just inches from Jair's nose. The smugness drops from his face. She sheathes it just as fast and tells him that if he has time to waste on rumors, he should grab a blade and prove himself. Jair steps forward and grabs her wrist. He tells her he's only worried about her shriveled heart, starved for love and sinking in loneliness. Alphine tears her hand away without hesitation. She says Finn isn't gone. He's on a journey to grow stronger, to reach a level where he can stand beside her. And when that day comes, he'll return. Jair's smile fades. With a sigh, he says it's a shame, but if Alphine ever has any worries, she should feel free to lean on him. Then he kneels down and kisses her hand, calling her the proud sword of the kingdom and the sheath that holds his love. With that, he walks off, casually saying he'll see her later. Lovely sword saint, he calls over his shoulder. Alphine's blood boils. Nearby knights flinch as her glare cuts through the air. She snarls that training isn't over. They'll be doing a 1 versus 100 sparring session, effective immediately. Everyone will draw their swords and attack her at once. The knights start offering excuses, trying to avoid the inevitable. But Alphine shuts them down cold. As their instructor, she warns, anyone who refuses will be reported directly to the king. They can take their chances with that if they like. Fuming, she tightens her grip on the hilt. At this rate, if Finn doesn't come back soon, she might just slaughter every one of these pampered nobles. Far away in the frontier city, Finn jolts awake, heart racing. He's drenched in sweat, breath short, haunted by a nightmare of Alphine. Stumbling to the washroom, he leans over the sink and vomits. The trauma's still there. As the cold water hits his face, he mutters to himself. He tells himself to get a grip, asks himself if he really left all that behind. Finn casts clear on himself, wiping away the sweat with a quick flick of magic. His face is instantly squeaky clean. Magic really is convenient. He remembers today's job, acting as Noelia's escort for a monster ecology survey, and rushes toward the city gate. He arrives out of breath. Noelia greets him with a warm good morning. Finn pants heavily, relieved he made it on time. Noelia assures him there's no need to rush. They've only just gathered. She tilts her head, a little worried, and asks if he's feeling all right. Finn waves it off. Just a bad dream, he says. Physically, he's fine. With that, Noelia brightens. She thanks him again for accepting the request and explains the plan. She's leading a monster ecological survey today, and she wants him by her side. They shake hands. Finn says he's looking forward to it, and Noelia promises to do her best. But even as they get ready to depart, Finn can't shake the feeling that something's off. The other escorts don't look like average guards. They're skilled, sharp-eyed, and serious. Then his eyes land on one man in particular, a knight clad in a heavy black mantle, radiating quiet pressure. Finn watches as the man approaches Noelia with a stern look, clearly about to say something. But before he can speak, Noelia grabs Finn by the arm and starts walking away, saying it's time to go. Thrown off, Finn stumbles after her, asking if he shouldn't at least say hello to the person he's supposed to escort. But Noelia doesn't slow down. She calmly says that man doesn't need an escort at all. The knight walks behind them, calling out to Noelia to wait. He hasn't finished talking, but she suddenly turns, frustrated, and calls him father. Finn nearly trips over his own feet. That intimidating knight is her dad. Noelia scolds him on the spot, asking if he forgot his promise to stay quiet during the survey. If he's not keeping it, then he can go back. Her father tries to argue, but she shuts it down immediately. If that's really her father, then he's the Lord of Huguenot Margrave Lloyd, and he's being completely pushed around by his own daughter. As the investigation continues, Finn feels increasingly awkward. Just yesterday, he launched all the investigation targets into the sky. He clearly doesn't know how to hold back. At this rate, he's only going to be a liability. Behind them, Lloyd struggles up the path, muttering that he must be getting old. These trails are rougher than he remembered. Finn offers to help, but Noelia brushes it off. Her father hates being helped, she says. He used to be a platinum-ranked adventurer, he'll manage somehow. She tells Finn to just leave him be. From the way she says it, Finn gets the sense the two of them don't exactly get along. Just then, Lloyd suddenly starts shouting at Finn, accusing him of flirting with his daughter. Noelia silences him on the spot with a spell, casting a mute field before he can make a scene. She tells him not to yell in a place like this, but it's already too late. Something's coming. From the bushes, rustling grows louder. A moment later, a beast bursts out, jaws wide, charging straight at Finn. He barely blocks the strike in time, then plants his feet and yells for everyone to guard Noelia and the Margrave. The escorts are stunned. It's a forest wolf. Noelia peeks from cover and tells Finn to dial down the power. They need some of the beasts alive for the ecological survey. He says he got it, though he's annoyed he only brought a standard blade. Trying to subdue these things with basic gear isn't ideal. He scans the battlefield. The others seem to be handling the smaller ones just fine. Looks like the one charging him is the boss. The wolf lunges again. Finn sidesteps and slices clean through its side, dropping it instantly. He mutters that the bigger they are, the easier they are to read, especially compared to Alfine's sword techniques. This was nothing, but then Noelia calls his name, sharp and urgent. Finn spins around. Two more wolves are coming fast, and he's wide open. He manages to slash one, but the second's already mid-air, until a blast of magic crashes into it and sends it flying. Flames flash past, and Finn glances back. Of course, it's Noelia. As the wolves retreat in fear, he shouts a quick warning. She responds instantly, casting Sleep Cloud. A thick, misty spell spreads across the field, and one by one, the fleeing beasts collapse. Noelia calls out for the team to capture them while they're still unconscious. Later, as they trek back, Finn eyes his chipped sword and sighs. It's hanging in there, but barely. He mutters that it probably needs sharpening again. He'll need to buy something more reliable soon. From behind, Lloyd quietly takes note. That night, while Finn rests alone by the campfire, one of the knights approaches and settles beside him. He comments that Finn seems surprisingly comfortable in the wild. Finn looks up as the man introduces himself, Mice, captain of the Margrave's Knights. He offers a flask and pours a little booze between them. Mice says Noelia mentioned Finn's only been an adventurer for about a month. Finn goes with the usual story, saying he used to work escort jobs for merchants. In the back of his mind, he hopes that's enough to hold up. No way he can mention being platinum. Mice gives him a long look, then chuckles and says that makes sense. He's clearly used to life outdoors. Finn comments that they're pretty capable themselves. The knights he used to know could barely handle camp duty. Mice laughs and explains that most of them used to be platinum-class adventurers. Roughing it is second nature by now. Finn asks if the Margrave really hires commoners as knights. Mice nods and says Lloyd might be nobility now, but he started as an adventurer just like them. He doesn't put much stock in titles. Finn admits he had no idea. Mice says that's not surprising, most younger folks wouldn't know. Then his tone shifts. He says most of the adventurers who remembered those days died during the Great Invasion. The name hits Finn like a weight. The Great Invasion 20 years ago. A massive outbreak of abyss walkers surged out from the demonic forests, sweeping through the kingdom. Neither beast nor man, the monsters tore through towns. The scars left behind still run deep. Finn lost family in that calamity, though he was too young to remember. With the army and royal knights stretched thin, the nation turned to adventurers. They were the ones who held the line. That's why so few talk about it now. Finn quietly asks if Mice fought too. Mice nods. He was part of Lloyd and Florina's party back then. Finn asks who Florina is. Mice answers with a small smile, that's Noelia's mother. She was the daughter of the Enestrosa family, but instead of staying in the capital, she left home and made a name for herself as a magician on the frontier. He trails off before continuing. Finn catches the hesitation and asks if something happened to her. Mice nods. After Noelia was born, Lloyd was officially adopted into the Enestrosa family. They raised Noelia in the relative safety of the capital. But despite Lloyd's protests, Florina joined the frontline assault team not long after childbirth, determined to fight for their survival. She never came back. Hearing that, Finn lowers his gaze. So Noelia lost her mother in the Great Invasion too. Just like him. He used to wonder why a noble's daughter would be so obsessed with magic. But now he gets it. Her roots aren't that different from his. He quietly thinks that if her mother was anything like Noelia, she must have been a beautiful person. And one day, Noelia will grow up to be just as lovely. Mice nods. He says Noelia inherited everything from her. Her energy, her drive. Even her fiery back and forth with Lloyd before the expedition reminded him of Florina. If Florina were still alive, Finn says, their family might have turned out a little less complicated. Mice chuckles, saying it's a shame. They'd get along fine if they were just a little more honest with each other. That's when it hits Finn. He's been listening this whole time, but only now realizes something. He asks how old Noelia is. Mice tells him she was born right before the Great Invasion ended. She's turning 20 this year. She's the same age as him. He stammers out a surprised laugh as Mice chuckles, saying it makes sense. Noelia's baby face throws people off. Finn awkwardly scratches his head. He's definitely been treating her like a kid this whole time. Mice leans back and says Finn's got a calm air about him too, despite looking young. Maybe it came from life as a merchant escort. Finn shrugs, saying it's just always felt normal. Mice calls him modest, then adds that Lloyd was adopted into his wife's family too. Young people with drive tend to gather around him. Before he can finish, Lloyd appears behind them without a sound. Finn stiffens up on instinct. He hasn't done anything wrong, but the pressure from the man is overwhelming. Lloyd casually holds out a sword. He tells Finn to use it during the investigation, says it doesn't matter if it breaks. That worn-out blade of his isn't worthy of a real swordsman. Even if it means going into debt, a man needs a sword that matches his strength. Finn takes the sword and slowly unsheathes it. The gleam of the blade makes his eyes widen. It looks far too valuable. Even Mice raises an eyebrow at the sight of it. Finn quickly lowers the sword and turns to Lloyd, saying he appreciates the gesture, but he can't accept something so expensive. He bows politely and offers it back, insisting he wouldn't be able to compensate if something happened to it. Lloyd waves him off. He tells Finn to take it. When he said he didn't mind if it broke, he meant it. There's no compensation required. Then Lloyd settles down beside the fire and adds that, while he's got plenty of complaints about Noelia, he respects capable adventurers, and to someone like Finn, he wants to be generous. Mice laughs and says Lloyd's more fired up than usual about this. That sword, he explains, is the kind of weapon usually reserved for knights. If he accepts this, they might try to officially recruit him. If anyone starts digging into his identity, they'll realize he's using a fake name. If that happens, there's no doubt Alphine will find him. Lloyd notices his hesitation and asks if he's dissatisfied, mentioning that the blade once belonged to him. Finn scrambles for a response, trying to find a way to decline without offending anyone. But then Noelia shows up. She says her father can be pretty stubborn, so it might be best to just accept it. Now even she's pushing for it. Lloyd nods firmly. That settles it. Noelia tells Finn he can just treat the sword like something he bought himself. It's a blade from the Enestrosa family. After all, she guarantees its quality. If he doesn't need it later, he can just give it back to her and she'll toss it right at her father. That last part makes Finn a little uneasy. Sure enough, Lloyd shouts at her. But before he gets more than a few words out, Noelia casts a silence spell. His lips keep moving, but not a sound escapes. She calmly tells him he's being way too loud for an outdoor camp. Finn glances over and starts to feel a little sorry for the man. He turns to Lloyd and says, awkwardly, that since he doesn't have a backup blade, he'll go ahead and borrow the sword for the investigation. Lloyd struggles, straining his jaw to force the magic off. He finally breaks free, only to immediately start yelling again. And again, Noelia hits him with silence. That wraps up the second day of the investigation.